Hadoop provides an interesting data system that enables all the data to be captured and brought under management. In a way, particularly if you integrate it with the existing systems, you can have a holistic view as opposed to more of a siloed view. And I think it plays an interesting role, in that regard. When we talk about modern data architecture, it's how do you provide a path forward for the enterprise to embrace this in a way it's not a rip and replace. It's not a huge disruption. It actually can take investments forward in a way that leverages existing skills and those types of things. So I think the modern element of it is being able to capture the new data paradigm in a way where you can actually blend it with your existing traditional systems. You're able to unlock some new interesting use cases with new tools, but you can actually arm existing users who are SQL users or classic ETL users or what have you. So there's a sort of the bringing the new, but also making sure that the existing users can come forward and tap into the value in familiar ways. I think that's generally the modern data architecture is around that. There are always going to be new systems that come on board. So how do you get an architectural approach that can deal with the security, the operations, the governance notions that, frankly, enterprises won't deploy this stuff without, right?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I mean, so you hit on one point, bringing the skills forward, because I hear some people say Hadoop's too hard. I get it, that it can augment my data warehouse and help scale for different data types and larger data volumes, but that's why I pay the extra money for these other systems. So, if Hadoop's too hard, how can we help them make the leap? And Sanjay, maybe you can say a little bit about how Informatica fits into the modern data architecture and can bring some of those traditional skills forward into the new world.
Sure. So just to add to what Shaun said earlier, new patterns are emerging, and one of the new patterns you keep hearing about is this thing called data lakes. Right? The idea is that you bring data from all these different systems, and maybe some of the data needs to go into the lake. Now, once you build this new pattern, so what are the things you need to do? First, you need to bring data, right? So you need to first have connectivity to your existing systems or the new systems so that you can ingest all of the data into that lake. And once you have the data in the lake, you still need to do things like standardization, cleansing, transformation, etc. And then once you've done that, then you need to maybe provision that to the users, to the different analytical systems that are coming on board. They may be Hadoop itself, or they may be some of the new age analytical systems. Now, the way to do that is to, ideally, you want to be able to leverage the skill sets you already have. And that's where I think what Informatica brings to the table in terms of 20 plus years of metadata driven development and much easier sort of tools that make it much easier for you to build these data pipelines. I think that's where Informatica complements what Hadoop vendors like Hortonworks
do. Democratize the value of the new data in a way that's familiar. I think it's pretty critical.
Okay. So bringing the new skills forward, that's one clear benefit, right? In order to take advantage of these new technologies that we're seeing emerge, like Hadoop and other Apache projects within the Hadoop ecosystem. But what are some other benefits that you see by implementing the modern data architecture?
When we think of it, there's two drivers that we see. One is around net new applications that they couldn't have done previously, right? Either it's unlocked by the new forms of data, or it's unlocked by infinite history and access to that history, whereas they may have had a sliding scale or sliding viewport, right? So, multi-year time series analytics becomes really interesting in some of these applications. As well as consumption, doing real-time analytics, but also sort of deep machine learning analytics. And so they're the things that really, I think, move the needle for the business. And then there is the sort of the optimization of cost and those types of things. And then the other aspect is you really have to look at the different end users, right? So people say Hadoop's complicated, or you might need Java skills or what have you. There's a certain segment of application development that totally requires and is perfectly suited for that. But you also want metadata-driven tools. You also want standard SQL tools. You want to get it into form factors that appeal to a broad, many different user communities, right? And that's just a lot of work that has to happen to integrate it well into the architecture, I think.
Yeah. So Sanjay, how can Informatica help get it into the right form factor so that you can do big data analytics?
As you know, Informatica provides, first of all, the ability to bring all the data, do any kind of transformations that you need, and any kind of maybe pre-aggregations, etc., that you need. The other thing that you need is, as data volumes become bigger, you need to be able to discover where your data is, and to be able to discover based on the content of the data, to be able to collaborate with other users so that they can actually augment and enrich the data. All those are key capabilities that you need to provide in any modern data architecture. And Informatica, through its ability to do, get lineage, get how the data propagates across the systems, enables all of that.